Fabulous, and this is a video on how to make 3 different block palettes and their different uses based on your in-game needs. Alright, let's go. Our first palette is a simple 9-block palette. I suggest using this for simple builds for when you've just started a new world. It's very straightforward. I'll go ahead and show an example on how to use it when you're just starting out. So I've just loaded in to this beautiful acacia biome, savanna. So obvious contenders will be acacia, stripped acacia, acacia wood. We have sand, so possible sand, sandstone. Other blocks that people might not think of that are easy to obtain early game are things like andesite, diorite, granite. They're simple, but they can be very useful decorative blocks to really enhance a build. So let's see if we can find any of that. Alright, so I've picked my location and I've gone around and just found easy materials near me, and that only took about 5 minutes, which is really good early game. That's what you want, is to find materials that won't take you very long to get, so you can get your first house built in just about a day or two in Minecraft. So let's work on that palette. Now I've gathered the materials, and this gives me a chance to explain how the palette works. The 3 on the bottom are floor, but mainly outdoor decorative flooring. The other tiers are things that would be used for the base of the build. The roof, the walls, the flooring inside of the build. These are typically, I view them as outdoor elements, and these would be more indoor, and the base. Of course, I like the tiered. You could do this flat in a 3x3, but the tiered really allows you to view the depth and how well all of the blocks are going to go together in that sense, rather than just completely next to each other flat. So if you use this as a wall piece, oh, I like it near the gravel, it might look good with the coarse dirt. So that's just an example, one biome, and how you would do that. Let's go on to the next palette. For our second palette, this is geared more towards mid-sized or a smaller number of multiple builds. It's more detailed than the first, of course, but it's less complex than what's coming next. It's perfect for building off of your first palette, just expanding it as you explore and progress further into the game. I'll go ahead and show you how I would use this. So you've gone out, you've gone exploring, went into different biomes, gathered more resources, and you've expanded the palette, but it's still cohesive. And this way, you can either expand upon what you've already built, or continue building new things that still are cohesive with what you've already built. And that's, you pretty much added a layer, an extra row and column of blocks, and still kept it pretty compact with about 16 items plus any accessories that you would like. Now let's take a look at the last palette. Lastly, we have the late game or large builds palette. This palette has multiple uses for when you're well established in a world, and collecting many different blocks won't be as much of a hassle. When you've committed yourself to a long-term build that requires a lot of unique blocks, or when you want to build something at a larger scale, such as a town or a kingdom, and the whole many individual builds need to be cohesive. So essentially what I've done is taken the mid-sized palette and flipped it across from each other, mirrored it. You could expand it, but I think this keeps it closer together and allows you to walk through and experience it a little bit more naturally in this enclosed space almost. At this point is when I would suggest using the creative menu and possibly making a separate world in the same biome you plan to build in. So there's many blocks in the game, and this allows you to experiment with strange, hard to obtain blocks freely. And of course that applies to all of these palettes. I'm going to go ahead and make an example palette, and I'll show you what I plan to do with that. And here we are. This is my finalized, large, multiple build, whatever you want to call it, palette. This palette, it can be a little bit overwhelming. Sometimes it can look like two palettes in one, but that's where its strength really lies and how we can utilize our previous palette experience with this one. What's very useful is that if you become overwhelmed and you're not sure what to do, just recurate your smaller palette for each build. Like, okay, let's grab some of this. Yeah, these would be really, maybe I want to use this one for my floor. I think mangrove would look good for the walls. Dark oak always. Classic structural piece. And bring in a little bit more. I'll use some of this. Pretty good. Flooring. Classic to go with the gravel, and maybe the interior. I'll use smithing tables. For our last one, let's see. I can use barrels in the build. There we go. And from this, you've created a smaller palette, but from this larger one, and this is just one build. If you do this for every build, no matter how different the builds are, they will all fit together when it's completed, since it comes from one larger cohesive palette. Something I've done differently is included more decorative items at the top for this palette. Of course, interiors, decorations, you're going to use way more than this, but this will set a good baseline for what you want, and that helps it not be as overwhelming when you start the project. Well, there you go. I hope this helps in any way to make it a bit easier to build a palette in Minecraft, no matter what stage of the game you're in, or what scope you plan to build at. I'm Doom Phyllis. Thank you.